Americans, your passport, that symbol of freedom and international mobility, might not hold the same weight it once did, may not save you, or offer the same level of protection and access you've come to expect. In 2025, the world is changing rapidly, and these changes are poised to directly impact American citizens living and traveling abroad. If you're living abroad, whether you're a retiree enjoying your golden years, a digital nomad exploring the globe, or a professional working overseas, you need to hear this. This isn't just speculation. It's a critical update based on emerging trends and policy shifts. There's a seismic shift underway in the global landscape, a confluence of factors that are creating a potentially precarious situation for American expats that could upend the lives, disrupt your carefully laid plans, and force you to reconsider your long-term future abroad. Of thousands of U.S. expats. This isn't about scaremongering, it's about providing you with the information you need to make informed decisions. 10 countries are about, based on current trajectories, to make moves, to implement policies that could change everything, altering the legal and social landscape for Americans living within their borders, for Americans overseas. These changes range from increased scrutiny and stricter visa requirements to potential deportation measures. The era of the perception of the blue passport, the American passport, as a golden ticket guaranteeing unfettered access and preferential treatment is ending. The world is becoming more complex and national interests are increasingly taking precedence. In this video, I'm going to provide you with a crucial overview. I'll break down, analyze, and explain the top 10 countries, the specific nations where Americans face, where U.S. citizens are at the highest risk of mass deportation or significant legal and social challenges in 2025. This is the year these changes are expected to come into full effect. These are real developments. These aren't just rumors or hypothetical scenarios. New laws, legislation being drafted and passed, diplomatic rifts, growing tensions between nations, and rising public anger, fueled by various political and economic factors. If you've invested your time, resources, and heart into a life abroad, a home away from home, you need to know, you absolutely must be aware of what's coming. Prepare yourself for the potential challenges ahead. Let's get into it. Let's dive into the details and uncover the truth. Let's start with a look at a country where the welcome mat for Americans seems to be rapidly disappearing. We're going to delve into the shifting landscape of international relations and the impact it's having on individuals living and working abroad. The most shocking country on this list, China. A nation that once beckoned with opportunity and cultural exchange, is now presenting a more complex and challenging environment for American expats. The Chinese government has ramped up scrutiny of foreign nationals, particularly focusing on those from the United States. This increased vigilance is creating a palpable sense of unease among the American community in China, with Americans getting special, unwelcome attention. It's a situation that demands careful consideration and awareness for anyone planning to live or work in China. New regulations make it harder to renew visas, adding another layer of uncertainty for those who have built their lives in the country, and sudden deportations are on the rise. This isn't just anecdotal, the data reflects a clear shift in policy. Tensions between Washington and Beijing have reached a boiling point, and unfortunately, ordinary citizens are often caught in the crossfire of geopolitical disputes, fueling anti-American sentiment. This creates a more hostile environment for Americans living and working in China. State media is running stories about alleged American interference, further exacerbating the situation and creating a climate of suspicion, justifying stricter controls and expulsions. The narrative being pushed is one of national security and protecting Chinese interests. Everyday Americans, teachers who contribute to education and cultural exchange, students eager to learn and build bridges, entrepreneurs, individuals who drive innovation and economic growth, are being swept up in this wave. It's a broad net, catching many who have contributed positively to Chinese society. Even long-term residents are finding themselves suddenly unwelcome. The change in atmosphere is palpable, creating anxiety and uncertainty. The message is clear: if you're American, you're on borrowed time. The sense of security that many Americans once felt in China is eroding. If you're living in China, you need an exit plan. It's a harsh reality, but one that many are now facing. The rules are changing fast and the consequences are severe. It's no longer enough to simply comply with the existing laws. You need to anticipate future changes. The era of American privilege in China is over. The landscape has shifted and Americans in China must adapt or face the consequences. Let's turn our attention now to Russia, a nation undergoing significant shifts in its relationship with the United States and its citizens, where new laws are targeting Americans specifically. These legislative actions are not subtle. They represent a marked change in how American residents are treated within the country. Escalating tensions between Russia and the United States have led to policies that directly impact the lives of American expats and visitors alike. This is more than just diplomatic posturing, it's affecting individuals on a personal level. That make life nearly impossible for some, creating an environment of uncertainty and fear. Navigating daily life has become a minefield of bureaucratic hurdles and potential legal pitfalls. For American residents who are finding their lives increasingly disrupted by these new regulations and heightened scrutiny, the sense of stability they once enjoyed is rapidly eroding. Visa restrictions are becoming tighter, making it harder for Americans to enter or remain in the country legally, and sudden denials are becoming commonplace, leaving many stranded and uncertain about their future. These decisions often appear arbitrary, with little explanation provided, are just the start of a series of measures that are making life increasingly difficult for Americans in Russia. Recent legislation singles out Americans, specifically targeting them with provisions that do not apply to other foreign nationals. For extra scrutiny at borders, during routine checks, and in everyday interactions with authorities. And invasive background checks that delve into every aspect of their lives, creating a climate of fear and suspicion. Americans are being monitored, their communications and movements tracked in ways that raise serious concerns about privacy and civil liberties. Questioned, often without clear justification, and subjected to interrogations that can be intimidating and unsettling. And sometimes expelled from the country, their lives uprooted with little recourse. With little warning, leaving them scrambling to pack their belongings and arrange for an immediate departure. Even those with families and deep roots in Russia are not immune to these measures, facing the agonizing prospect of separation and displacement. Or businesses are at risk of being shut down or seized, jeopardizing their livelihoods and investments. The legal landscape is shifting almost daily, making it difficult for Americans to understand their rights and obligations. And enforcement is arbitrary, with little consistency or predictability in how laws are applied. For Americans living in Russia, this creates a climate of constant anxiety and uncertainty. This means living under a cloud of suspicion, where every interaction with authorities carries the potential for negative consequences. In a state of constant vigilance, carefully monitoring their words and actions to avoid attracting unwanted attention. If you're in Russia as an American citizen, it's crucial to exercise extreme caution and be aware of your surroundings. Stay informed about the latest developments and legal changes that could affect your status and safety, and be ready to act fast if the situation deteriorates, having a plan in place for a quick and safe departure. The window for safe residency is shrinking, and the risks associated with remaining in the country are increasing. Is closing, and for many the time to leave may be now. Turkey is next, where diplomatic tensions have reached a fever pitch. The government is reviewing the status of all foreign nationals, but Americans face the harshest scrutiny. Visa denials and delays are at record highs. Anti-American sentiment is rising, fueled by media and public protests. Raids on American-owned businesses and harassment by authorities are increasing. For many, life in Turkey has become unpredictable and tense. The sense of community is eroding, replaced by fear and suspicion. If you're an American in Turkey, reassess your options now. The government's willingness to use expats as political pawns means no one is truly safe. Brazil might seem unlikely, but economic instability is fueling anti-American sentiment. Locals blame Americans for taking jobs, and the government is responding with new policies. Visa renewals are being denied at unprecedented rates. Even established residents are under review. Protests and social media campaigns are urging the government to put Brazil first. The welcoming atmosphere is disappearing, replaced by scapegoating. Stricter measures, including mass deportations, are being considered. If you're an American in Brazil, your residency and livelihood are at risk. In Saudi Arabia, security concerns are driving a crackdown on American residents. Authorities claim Americans pose national security risks, leading to raids and deportations. New regulations make it nearly impossible to obtain or renew residency permits. Even those already living there face sudden inspections and questioning. The media is echoing the government's hardening stance. Social gatherings are shrinking as expats leave for safer destinations. If you're an American in Saudi Arabia, stay vigilant and be ready to respond quickly. The risk of sudden deportation has never been higher. India has always been popular with American expats, but that's changing fast. The government is overhauling visa policies and Americans are feeling the impact. Long-term visas are being revoked with little notice. The official reason is tighter immigration controls and prioritizing local employment. Behind the scenes, frustration with American influence is growing. Even long-term residents are being told to leave. The appeals process is opaque, and anxiety is rising. If you're an American in India, monitor your visa status closely. The days of easy entry and long-term stays are over. In South Africa, pressure on American expats is coming from the ground up. Public protests demanding the removal of Americans have erupted in major cities. The government is reviewing foreign national status, focusing on Americans. New regulations make it harder to get work permits or extend visas. Media headlines warn of a foreign invasion, fueling public anger. Americans are being singled out for scrutiny and deportation threats. If you're in South Africa, your residency could be at risk. Mexico has long been a top destination for American expats, but that's changing. Headlines now bluntly state, Americans no longer welcome. Rising housing costs and resentment over gentrification are fueling backlash. Politicians are introducing new taxes and restrictions targeting Americans. Protests and reports of harassment are increasing. Visa renewals are being denied, and calls for mass deportations are growing. The risks are mounting for Americans in Mexico. The dream of a laid-back life south of the border is fading fast. The United Arab Emirates once welcomed professionals from around the world, but that's changing for Americans. Government crackdowns and sudden deportations are becoming common. Americans are being singled out for scrutiny, especially in sensitive industries. Even those with strong professional ties aren't immune. The media is echoing government concerns about foreign interference. If you're an American in the UAE, reassess your situation now. The risks of staying are growing by the day. Finally, maybe the most unexpected country on this list, Canada. New immigration policies are making it harder for Americans to obtain or renew residency. Economic pressures and political pressures are fueling resentment over American migration. Politicians are introducing new restrictions and media is amplifying concerns. Long-term residency permits are being reviewed and sometimes revoked. Community groups are calling for stricter controls. The sense of security in Canada is fading. If you're an American in Canada, don't assume you're immune. Even the safest destinations are no longer a sure bet. So there you have it, the top 10 countries where Americans face mass deportation in 2025. If you're living abroad, now is the time to stay alert and subscribe for urgent updates. The world is changing fast, and the safety nets for US expats are unraveling. These aren't just headlines, real people are caught in the crossfire. Stay informed, stay proactive, and protect your future.